of all the revelations I've seen about Meghan Markle recently, the one from the Harper's Bazaar interview, where she does this sort of weirdly stark cover. But it's one of the quotes in there, which is that I'll read what Harper's Bazaar journalist said, that when I enter, the house manager announces Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, even though we appear to be the only other two people in the house. Yeah. I mean, there's that moment alone, right? The utter delusion of this person.
Yeah, it's a very grand and frankly unnecessary introduction. You know, when you particularly consider, and the many times I met Harry, he never wanted to be, the Duke of Sussex or Prince. He just was like, call me Harry. But of course, with Meghan, it's not the same, and she capitalizes on that title as often as she can, whether it's promoting her Netflix series or letter writing or whatever it might be.
Apparently, Meghan Markle is now on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. Okay, she's on the cover of Harper's Bazaar.
Meghan Markle, and to no one's surprise, it is the exact same stories and sound bites and tidbits.
And she's going, what are you writing about? I said, she's giving this interview to Harper's Bazaar magazine.
Meghan Markle sold her soul to the devil to get a cover, not on Vogue, which is the one that she wanted, but on Harper's Bazaar. Oh, bizarre.
Let's stick with Meghan. She sat down with Harper's Bazaar for another tell-all interview. Kinsey for the cover.
That is just what's happened overnight with this extraordinary cover feature on Harper's Bazaar with Meghan Markle.
Delusion on display. Meghan's new interview in Harper's Bazaar came out, and I want to talk about it, but we're not going to go through the whole thing.
We're going to dig into this one today because she is out there. She's cover girl now for Harper's Bazaar.
The First Lady of Montecito, Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle interview. She is one of the most disliked known figures. She has nothing new going on.
I mean, she's seen that some of this no makeup, natural look is playing very well for some other famous women.
This woman looks rough, aged, and this is in spite of all the airbrushing they did.
By the magazine editor that wanted to turn you into a star, that in their cover feature...
All right, huge disclaimer. We are not reading the entire Bazaar article because it was bizarre. And honestly, Meghan Markle is just, let me think about it. Delulu with the capital D.
Did Meghan Markle just prove in her Harper's Bazaar interview?
Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, it's revealed in a new interview given to Harper Bazaar magazine.
When you are important, nobody needs to introduce you because they know who you are. But of course, Meghan Markle has to have somebody announce her using the colonialist title. I tried to make my hair as raggedy as possible to kind of match the Meghan Markle vibe.
Bazaar expected a comeback moment. Meghan expected a win. Instead, the second her new cover went live, something felt wrong, not because of the styling or the lighting, but because the entire thing carried an uneasy energy. Like a woman...
Meghan Markle, okay, she was British royalty. Meghan Markle was as high as you could get in British society and basically global society. I mean, we just saw they had a massive state dinner at Windsor Castle.
And even Bazaar realized almost immediately that the cover wasn't landing behind the scenes. They admitted it was one of their weakest releases in years. Meghan didn't see it coming, and the quiet disappointment that followed revealed far more than the photos ever could. The funny thing about a photo shoot is that the camera always tells the truth, even when the subject doesn't want it to. Meghan walked into that shoot with a very clear goal: look natural.
It is the exact same stories and sound bites and tidbits that she has said at least 3 other times. There is not one single new anecdote in this interview, if you can believe it. I have read it, skimmed over it very quickly.
But the final images didn't carry any of that. The natural look felt unfinished, not intentional. The soft lighting made her look tired instead of serene, and the facial expressions weren't reflective. They were tight, like someone thinking more about how she should look instead of how she actually felt. There wasn't a single shot where she looked relaxed. not one where the expression matched the mood of the set, not one that's...
The Duchess of Sussex! Someone in the scrum announces. And those flippers, I mean, how can a woman who is 5'2" have such big feet?
The camera picked up attention. She probably didn't even realize she was showing the kind of tension that comes from trying to prove something, instead of simply being present for someone who built her brand on confidence. The images showed someone unsure. For someone who loves polished messaging, the photos revealed cracks in the facade for someone trying to reinvent herself. This wasn't reinvention, it was repetition. But as confusing as the images were, the real
Duchess of Sussex, even though we appear to be the only two people in the house.
Harper's Bazaar isn't just a magazine, it's a machine. A polished, strategic, data-driven machine that knows exactly how a successful cover behaves within the first hour of release. Shares climb comments, trend positive fashion pages, repost the images. Publicists send congratulatory emails. PR teams hold their breath in excitement. None of that happened inside the Bazaar offices. Editors watched the rollout unfold with a growing sense of discomfort.
Meghan is in her natural habitat. This is what she wanted. The cameras, the curated lighting, the oversized ego. Her entire existence here is exactly what she curated.
Readers weren't calling it bold or artistic or fresh. There was no moment where the cover caught fire. Instead, there was a soft, steady drop. The kind of drop that tells an experienced team the message didn't land. They knew the problem wasn't technical. It wasn't the color scheme or the layout. It wasn't even the buzz around Meghan. It was something harder to fix. The mood of the images didn't feel honest, and audiences could sense it immediately. So behind the scenes, the conversation started quietly, carefully, with the kind of language editors use.
She's announced as the Duchess of Sussex when she walks in. Like, even the author, who is very generous to Meghan throughout this article, is like, that's weird.
Maybe the timing wasn't right. Those are all polite ways of saying the same thing. This didn't work. And while the industry whispered about the failed execution, Meghan was facing the part of the interview. She never expected to be the source of the real fallout, because the text revealed something. The photos only hinted at a deeper disconnect. She can't hide with lighting or styling if the photos felt slightly off. The interview made it impossible to ignore. Not because Meghan said anything outrageous or shocking. She didn't. It was the tone, the way she spoke in long, polished sentences that sounded carefully rehearsed instead of lived in. Every answer felt like a PR-approved thought, rather than an actual moment of honesty. She talked about boundaries, about growth, about protecting her peace, about navigating the spotlight, all familiar themes, all packaged in phrases smooth enough to fit on the back of a book jacket. But none of it matched what people have seen from her in the past few years. Her lifestyle doesn't reflect someone guarding her privacy. Her public actions don't show someone stepping away from fame. Her appearances aren't the actions of a woman who wants quiet. And that gap, the space between what she says and what she does, creates a strange tension that the interview couldn't hide. There was a moment when she tried to speak softly about healing and transformation, but the words didn't carry any weight. They just floated. They're elegant but empty, like she was describing a version of herself that only exists on paper. The problem wasn't the vocabulary, it was the performance behind it. Meghan has a very particular way of talking when she wants to sound profound, slow, measured, poetic. Like each line is supposed to land with emotional force, but instead of sounding deep, it sounded distant.
On Bravo, what do you feel about Meghan Markle copying you? And so Pamela, as you know, has gone barefaced over the last few years, and it's gotten her a lot of positive attention.
Instead of sounding genuine, it sounded like she was trying to protect an image instead of sharing a truth. And that disconnect opened the door to the part of the interview that shifted the entire mood. a section Meghan probably thought would make her look strong, but instead revealed something more personal than she intended.
Here from Harper's Bazaar, courtesy of TRG The Royal Grift on X. And here, the Harper's Bazaar article says, her circle of trust is tight. So Meg's circle of trust is tight, guys. She puts her hand on her heart. This way. Yeah. Puts her hand on her heart when she talks about her husband.
When Meghan moved into the part of the interview about Harry, the tone changed in a way she probably didn't expect. Up until that point, everything she said felt polished and controlled. The same familiar talking points about boundaries and growth and healing. But the moment Harry's name came up, something slipped through the cracks. She didn't describe him the way most people describe a partner they love. She described him like a role he plays. Everything she said revolved around what he does for her, how he protects her, how he absorbs pressure, how he sees the threats she doesn't, how he supports her more than anyone ever has.
I think my boundaries have become stronger. You find different ways to protect yourself. She's talking about with the fame and all the spotlight. Here's what she has to say about Harry. He loves me so boldly, so fully, and he has a different perspective because he sees media that I wouldn't. No one in the world loves me.
It made their relationship feel one-sided, not in a dramatic tabloid gossip way, but in a quiet, uncomfortable way. You only notice when you read her words slowly. She didn't talk about what she admires in him. She didn't talk about what she gives back to the relationship. She didn't talk about what makes their bond feel like a partnership. She talked about what he provides, and that's where the tension began, because Harry has always been open about his struggles, especially with the media and the mental weight he carries. He's sensitive, reactive, easily overwhelmed by public criticism. He admits that openly, so when Meghan framed his constant monitoring of the press as something helpful to her, it painted a picture she probably didn't intend. It made it look like the...
She puts her hand on her heart when she talks about her husband. He loves me so boldly, fully, and he also has a different perspective because he sees media that I wouldn't. No one in the world loves me more than him. So I know he's always going to make sure that he has my...
Without realizing it, she revealed a dynamic that doesn't match the glossy power couple presentation her team pushes so hard. And the moment readers sensed that imbalance, the tone of the interview shifted. It stopped feeling inspirational and started feeling uncomfortable. But even this wasn't the part that unraveled her image completely. That moment came later, quietly, in a single detail, so strange, so unnecessary, and so revealing that it became the breaking point of the entire piece. A moment, not from the photo shoot, not from the interview, but from the setting itself. The interview took place in a New York brownstone. Not a studio, not a hotel suite, not a public space, just a quiet home. The kind of setting where people normally relax, sink into the sofa, and finally drop the performance. For anyone else, it would have...
Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Even though we appear to be the only other two people in the house. And we thought the constant monogramming of everything with her initials was bad.
When the journalist arrived, the house was calm. No cameras flashing, no assistants running around, no ceremony, just a couple people in the room and the quiet rhythm of a normal day. And then Meghan walked in. But instead of appearing naturally the way anyone else would, she was announced out loud. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in a living room with two people present. No guests, no audience, no formality, no reason. It was such a tiny detail, the kind most people would have ignored. But it changed the tone of the entire piece because it revealed something. The interview kept dancing around, but never truly addressed. She hasn't let go of the one part of her identity she claimed to walk away from. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about theatrics. It wasn't even about the title itself.
Apparently, Meghan Markle is now on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. Okay, she's on the cover of Harper's Bazaar.
Meghan Markle, and to no one's surprise,
It is the exact same stories and sound bites and tidbits.
And she's going, what are you writing about? I said, oh, she's given this interview to Harper's Bazaar magazine.
Meghan Markle sold her soul to the devil to get a cover, not on Vogue, which is the one that she wanted, but on Harper's Bazaar. Oh, bizarre.
Let's stick with Meghan. She sat down with Harper's Bazaar for another tell-all interview. Kinsey for the cover.
That is just what's happened overnight with this extraordinary cover feature on Harper's Bazaar with Meghan Markle.
Delusion on display. Meghan's new interview in Harper's Bazaar came out, and I want to talk about it, but we're not going to go through the whole thing.
We're going to dig into this one today because she is out there. She's cover girl now. Harper's Bazaar.
The First Lady of Montecito, Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle interview. She is one of the most disliked known figures. She has nothing new going on.
I mean, she's seen that some of this no makeup, natural look is playing very well for some other famous women.
This woman looks rough, aged, and this is in spite of all the airbrushing they did.
By the magazine editor that wanted to turn you into a star, that in their cover feature...
All right, huge disclaimer. We are not reading the entire Bazaar article because it was bizarre. And honestly, Meghan Markle is just, let me think about it. Delulu with the capital D.
Did Meghan Markle just prove in her Harper's Bazaar interview?
Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, it's revealed in a new interview given to Harper Bazaar magazine.
When you are important, nobody needs to...
She wants to feel important. She loves feeling important. That's why she loves having that Duchess of Sussex title. Because nobody else, you and I can't get that unless we go and marry off somebody. But she has it.
It made their relationship feel one-sided, not in a dramatic tabloid gossip way, but in a quiet, uncomfortable way. You only notice when you read her words slowly. She didn't talk about what she admires in him. She didn't talk about what she gives back to the relationship. She didn't talk about what makes their bond feel like a partnership. She talked about what he provides, and that's where the tension began, because Harry has always been open about his struggles, especially with the media and the mental weight he carries. He's sensitive, reactive, easily overwhelmed by public criticism. He admits that openly, so when Meghan framed his constant monitoring of the press as something helpful to her, it painted a picture she probably didn't intend. It made it look like the emotional burden falls on him, while she benefits from the buffer he creates, like he's the one absorbing the impact, so she doesn't have to. Celebrity circles or lifestyle branding. In that moment, the whole photo shoot suddenly made sense. The tension in her expression, the forced emotion, the dramatic tone of the interview. It wasn't a...
I think he's not the brightest bulb in the tulip patch, Harry, to put it politely. I think she is very manipulative. Meghan Markle is someone who's basically got rid of almost her entire family on her side, apart from her mother, her entire family on the father's side, including her father, which is incredibly sad. And now she's wrestled Harry away from his family. So how happy they really are in this mansion in California when they have no connection now with any of their family, bar one or two people, I find it very hard to believe that makes anybody happy. So it's at one level it's sad. Another level, it makes me quite angry, the damage they've caused to the monarchy. I think most British people are sick and tired of them. The polling has them now below Prince Andrew, which I didn't think would be humanly possible. She thought that actually being a member of the royal family was wearing a tiara, getting a fabulous wedding, and then doing what the hell you like.
His Bazaar cover fell apart. Not because the concept was bad, not because the photographer failed, not because Meghan wasn't trying. It failed because the story Meghan is trying to tell doesn't match the woman in the pictures. Hollywood is about reinvention, shedding skin, growing, evolving. But Meghan's photo shoot wasn't a reinvention. It was a reminder of everything she refuses to let go of. Every expression seemed tied to the past. Every pose felt like an attempt to recapture a version of herself that no longer fits.
I don't know how any woman could see a young girl and not see herself in her, especially at that age, Meghan tells me later. Once again, Meghan Markle makes everything about herself.
That's why the backlash hit harder this time. Not because of the photos, not because of the interview, not because of the title announcement in that brownstone. It hit harder because the audience reached a point where they didn't want another chapter of the same story. They wanted something real. And this cover unintentionally showed how far she still is from giving them that. For a long time, Meghan's team has operated as if every project could be spun into something iconic with the right visuals and the right vocabulary.
I don't believe Meghan Markle. Now, what I didn't know, and what was a fascinating thing to discover after I left, was that Meghan Markle, between the Monday and Tuesday, had made a personal complaint to the boss of ITV, Dame Caroline McCall. I didn't know that. I was never told that. I also know she had personally contacted, along with Prince Harry, Ofcom, which is a government regulatory body designed to regulate what we put out on news shows. So I was under attack from Miss Markle, both directly to my boss and to the government regulatory body, under attack to basically conform to her version of events. And I had to believe her. And if I didn't, I was a callous racist and I should be condemned and ultimately, as it turned out later that day, lose my job.
Sure of who she is anymore. And that confusion spread quietly until it built into something bigger. Not outrage, not scandal, but a sense of disappointment that's much harder to shake. There's a difference between people being annoyed with a public figure and people being tired of one. Annoyance fades, fatigue doesn't. And what Meghan faced after this Harper's Bazaar release wasn't outrage or anger, it was exhaustion. People didn't look at the cover and feel surprised. They didn't feel curious. They didn't even feel entertained. They just felt done. There's a kind of heaviness that settles when an audience has seen the same pattern too many. It all pointed back to the same thing. She isn't moving forward, she's holding on. And the more she tries to control the narrative, the more obvious that becomes. By the time readers finished the article, something became painfully clear. The issue wasn't the styling or the quotes, or even the awkward announcement in that living room. It was the feeling that Meghan is stuck between two worlds and not fully belonging to either one. On one side, she wants the symbolism of royalty, the grace, the gravitas, the sense of being above the noise. That title isn't just a word to her, it's a lifeline, a reminder of who she once was and who she wants people to believe.
Meghan, throughout this piece, there's also at the very end, she says Meghan is remarkably at ease with the surrealism of global celebrity. In fact, she seems to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a bit.
And this time, instead of the usual mixed reaction, there was a unified response. This isn't working anymore. Which brings us to the part of the story no one expected, not even Meghan, because this entire moment revealed something much bigger than a bad cover. It revealed what happens when a person keeps trying to build an identity on top of one they've never fully let go of. In the end, this cover didn't collapse because of styling or lighting. It collapsed because it exposed a woman caught between identities, trying to hold on to...
You might be looking at Meghan Markle saying, well, she's in Harper's Bazaar, she's in a big magazine. Sweetie, this is a major downgrade from being British royalty.
Meghan didn't give people anything new in this photo shoot or interview. She gave them the same tone, the same message, the same emotional framing she's been leaning on for years. Transformation, growth, reinvention. Those are powerful stories when they're real. But reinvention only works when the person has actually changed. And nothing about this cover felt knew nothing about it, suggested she'd turned a corner, or found a deeper truth, or discovered a version of herself that felt more grounded. Instead, it felt like she was recycling the same narrative misunderstood.
We're in a grand brownstone to the Upper East Side that belongs to one of Meghan's friends. When I enter, the house manager announces, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, even though we appear to be the only other two people in the house.
And this time, instead of the usual mixed reaction, there was a unified response. This isn't working anymore, which brings us to the part of the story no one expected, not even Meghan. Because this entire moment revealed something much bigger than a bad cover. It revealed what happens when a person keeps trying to build an identity on top of one they've never fully let go of. In the end, this cover didn't collapse because of styling or lighting. It collapsed because it exposed a woman caught between identities, trying to hold on to a story that no longer feels real. Until she chooses who she truly is, moments like this will keep repeating. If you want more breakdowns like this, don't forget to subscribe.